Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Shenanigans. I'm glad you found me. It was really hard to find me, actually, because I have 0 subscribers, 0 views, and nothing. So, if you got down to this part of the YouTube algorithm, you must love college football a lot, just like me. And today I'm going to be doing my Week 3 AP Top 25 reaction. And before we go over each and every ranking, I just want to give my first thoughts on the weekend. Colorado does it again. Coach Prime gets you all again. Why are people still doubting Colorado? Why were they favored only by 2.5 points when we knew that was going to hit? Colorado had the most amount of people bet on them this weekend, and let's just say Vegas lost, the house lost, and everybody cashed out. So that was my favorite thing of the weekend, is that Colorado won. People stay hating. People are all over social media. Oh, too much attention. I don't like this. Stop meat riding Colorado. I think it's great for the sport because it's one of those things where you either love them or hate them. It's just like the New York Yankees. It's just like Notre Dame. A lot of people love them. A lot of people hate them. But with those strong feelings, everyone's going to tune in, and it's great for the sport. I also saw something interesting before the game. Shedeur Sanders was going out there for warm-ups, and he said in his post-game interview that there were Nebraska players and coaches standing around the Buffalo logo at midfield, and he didn't like it. So you know what he did? He went over there and flashed his rollie in front of a Nebraska player's face and said, "Get off my field." I absolutely loved it. I mean, how could you not love the entertainment of the Colorado Buffaloes? That was just my little first thing. Second, it's a good day for a lot of college football when Alabama loses. I hate to say it, but a lot of the Blue Bloods losing, like Clemson last week, Alabama losing this week to Texas at home at Bryant-Denny Stadium, where they had a 52-1 record in the last 53 home games. Is Texas back? I don't know. I hate to be that guy, but I still am a little skeptical about Texas just because I've been hearing for the last 10 years, maybe even 15, I don't know. I'm not good at math, but it's been a long while where people say Texas is going to be back this year, and this is the year where they're finally going to make it to the BCS or the college football playoff. Now we're in that era, and it just never happens. Now let's get into the good stuff. The Week 3 AP Top 25, my first reaction, what I think about it, what I like, what I don't like. Now, you're going to want to take all of the AP Top 25s, especially at the beginning of the season, with a grain of salt because we don't know much about these teams. No one does. A lot of people are going off what happened last year. We always see that in the preseason rankings where you have a team that shouldn't be in there, TCU, maybe Iowa, but I'm not going to go too far into that. The top 25s that really matter start in November when the playoff committee does their thing. I think that's about Week 7 or Week 8. But I just like looking at the top 25s for fun because a lot of programs who are ranked, I would say 15 through 25 or 20 through 25, don't see themselves ranked a lot. And so it means a lot when you have a number next to your name, especially for a smaller program or a program that's not known to be good. But as far as the AP Top 25 for teams 1 through 10 or 1 through 4, the dynasty, like the blue blood college football teams, they don't care. It's so early in the season. Who cares? Okay, you're 1 through 4. It doesn't matter till November. But I'm talking about the smaller schools. It really does matter for them when they're ranked. We will start at the bottom with number 25, just like Drake. And it's the Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't like this team being ranked. They played their in-state rival Iowa State in the Cy-Hawk game. Yeah, that's what the rivalry game's called, Cy-Hawk, because the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes, I think it's a stupid name. They ended up winning the game by 1 score, didn't look great, and we all know that Iowa, they have a really bad offense. They have an offense that can't play with most FBS or Big Ten teams, and I just don't think they should be ranked. Coming in at 24, the UCLA Bruins, and this puts a smile on my face because this is the first of 8 ranked Pac-12 teams in the final season of the Pac-12. We really are getting some fireworks, and UCLA is deserving of the 24 spot ranking. They beat San Diego State on the road, and San Diego State's no slouch of a program. We know that they're competitive every single year in the Mountain West. San Diego State was 2-0. And in Game 1, UCLA played Coastal Carolina, and things were not looking good with starting quarterback Ethan Garbers. Ethan Garbers won the job over Dante Moore, a 5-star freshman, and a lot of people were confused about that coming out of camp. But you're not going to disregard what Chip Kelly says. He's the leader. He's the coach. You're just going to say, okay, maybe he saw more out of Ethan Garbers, but it was obvious in Game 1 that when Dante Moore came in, he absolutely electrified the UCLA offense, turned it around, and they rode that momentum against San Diego State and got the win. I think very well deserved of the 24 ranking. 23, the Washington State Cougars. Washington State had an upset at home. They welcomed in Wisconsin, and they ended up winning the game. Cam Ward is a dog at quarterback. A lot of people forget about him because you have so many other big names in the Pac-12 like Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Shedeur Sanders. But don't forget about Cam Ward. He was slanging in that game. He was running. And now this is the second year in a row where Washington State beats Wisconsin as an unranked team. And so we can say that Washington State owns Wisconsin. They're at 23. I think they're deserving as well. Up next at 22, we have the Miami Hurricanes, who had a great win this weekend against Texas A&M. I really got nothing to say other than Miami's a good team. They have Mario Cristobal's type toughness. They play that physical brand of football, and I think they're a great 22 spot. Coming in at 21, we have Duke. And I don't want to talk too much about what they did this weekend. They played Lafayette, and they blew them out. That's expected to happen, especially after you have a big Week 1 game. You upset Clemson at home on a Monday night. You're going to play weaker competition in Week 2 just to balance everything out. They got the win, whoop-de-whoop-de-doo. But I want to say how Duke has a really good chance of being competitive in the ACC. I think the ACC is completely wide open this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Duke wins their division, has a chance in the ACC championship, and even an outside shot at a New Year's Six Bowl or a college football playoff berth. I'm saying it here. Duke's a really good football team. The program's on the rise, and that's a lot from a quote-unquote basketball school. Speaking of basketball schools, this is a fun little note. The blue bloods of college basketball, which you all know is Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, and UCLA, are all undefeated this football season, 8-0 combined. So a little fun fact in there, the basketball schools are on the rise this season. Next up is North Carolina at 20. They get the job done against App State at home, but it wasn't pretty at all. They had to win in the final minutes, a one-score ball game, and now this is the second year in a row where App State and North Carolina is a bonkers game. I know we all remember the overtime game from last year. That was crazy. North Carolina, I don't know too much about them going forward in the ACC. Again, this is another ACC team ranked back-to-back-to-back. They do have Drake May, one of the top quarterbacks in college football, a future top pick in the NFL. But besides that, not much. Mac Brown doing the best he can at coach, but UNC 2-0, and they stay at 20. At number 19 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat SMU, and they handled them a little better than I thought. SMU is a good program in the American. Again, we all know they're moving to the ACC, but right now they're an American team, and I thought it was going to be a close game. The spread was 14, maybe 16 points, and I was picking SMU plus 14 all day. I thought that was an absolute lock, but it wasn't. Oklahoma impressed me, and funny enough, at the beginning of the season, I didn't think they were a ranked team. I didn't think they were deserving of being in the preseason top 25. I just thought they were in the shadow of Lincoln Riley, that program would never return to any sort of relevance, but Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, transfer from UCF, has really matured, and I could see good things happening going forward for this Oklahoma team, and they're definitely deserving of a top 20 spot. Colorado at 18. Colorado is must-see television. You have to watch them. They were the most viewed game on Saturday, even over the Alabama-Texas game. It's just everyone's tuning in. It's fun. It's good for the sport, and when they keep winning, the hype's just going to keep building. Deion's going to say more things. Shedeur Sanders just going to talk more. Even the Heisman race, I mean, you have Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders who are definitely going to compete in there if they keep winning, and it's fun to see. I'm just excited to see what they do in the Pac-12 schedule because we really don't know how good TCU and Nebraska is. I don't want to take away from either of those wins and be a hater and say, oh, they're not good at all. I know they're a good team. We know they're athletic and we know they can play, but how is that going to translate into a Pac-12 schedule? We'll see in a couple weeks when they face Oregon on September 23rd. I'm excited for that one. Up next at 17 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss this week faced off on the road at Tulane, a top 25 matchup. It was a tough game. They ended up getting the job done. I really like Jackson Dart. I like Lane Kiffin. Well-deserved spot, and they're a good team. They could surprise a lot of people in the SEC. I'm excited to watch them this year. Number 16, the Oregon State Beavers. I think they should be higher than this. Let's talk about Oregon State. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country. They're coming off their first 10-win season in a really long time with transfer QB DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson, one of the highest-ranked transfers or recruits they've ever gotten. They have a brand-new stadium. It was jumping this weekend when they played UC Davis. I know they haven't played much good competition yet, but just wait till the Pac-12 schedule starts. I really like their identity and their brand. They play smash mouth football. They're going to run the ball first. They're going to do play action. It's very much a contrast to a lot of Pac-12 teams who are running gun, and I think they have a chance to win the Pac-12, and I even think they should be ranked higher than Oregon and Utah. Kansas State comes in at 15. They played Troy this weekend, and another big blowout victory. They won 42-13. In the first game, they beat Southeast Missouri, no problem, 45-0. And I like that a lot of people wanted Troy in this game. The spread was, I think, 16, maybe 18 points. And a lot of people were going with Troy, saying Troy's a lot better than they expected. But surprisingly, Kansas State handled business, and I was not expecting that. So, well-deserved 15 ranking. I like them in the Big 12. We'll see what they can do. At 14, we have the LSU Tigers, who bounced back this weekend, winning 72-10 against Grambling State. Not an insane victory at all. I know the fans are still sad and upset about the Florida State loss in Week 1. Second year in a row where LSU puts himself in a bad position, but LSU does have a lot of talent. Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback. Brian Kelly's going to get the ship right. I think they finish off the season strong. And just in the next couple games, they have a game at Mississippi State, which will be a tough one coming up this weekend. I think they get the job done there. They play Arkansas and Ole Miss. So they have a lot of opportunities against some ranked teams. Oregon Ducks, number 13th ranked team. They pull it out against Texas Tech. Now, let me just say first, that was a fun game to watch. There were a lot of explosive plays. That game was down to the wire. I got my popcorn out. It was a great one. Now, I don't think Texas Tech is that good. We saw them get exposed in Week 1, losing on the road at Wyoming. Not saying Wyoming's a bad team. They're definitely a Mountain West contender, but Oregon has a lot of stuff to clean up. They look sloppy during that game. Lucky they came out with the win. That last second field goal and the pick six really got them. Again, I think Oregon State should be ranked higher than Oregon. And let's go into number 12, which is Utah. The Utah Utes get it done again without Cam Rising. And the question for them is, when is he going to return? Because without Cam Rising, Utah is a very average team. And what differs from college football and NFL is that NFL, you have to put players on injured reserve, and you actually have to let other teams know and other fans know how long the player is going to be out. But in college football, they don't have to tell you anything. So for all we know, Cam Rising could be out for 3-4 more weeks starting the Pac-12 schedule. And with that being said, Utah's not a 12-ranked team without Cam Rising. I think Kyle Whittingham's a great coach, and he always has Utah ready to play, great defense, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere without Cam Rising. Tennessee coming in at number 11. We haven't really seen much from them this year. I don't know how good they're going to be. It's a huge question mark. Their first 2 games against Virginia and Austin Peay, you're not really going to see much from that. I hate the SEC cupcake games, especially Tennessee and Georgia, too. I'm going to get into that later when we talk about the top 4 spots. They're at 11. Kind of meh. I don't really know much of what to think about them. They play Florida on the road coming up next weekend. I think they get the job done there. Overall, I'm looking at the schedule right now, and they have a very winnable schedule. They play, obviously, Alabama and Georgia just because of their division. But I think Tennessee, this schedule is not very hard. At number 10, we have Alabama. A lot of the country's happy. Alabama fans are not, because I don't see any way they make it into the college football playoff. I do respect them, and I respect teams for having tough schedules and putting themselves out there. But when you play those type of games in Week 1, Week 2, Week 3, non-conference, and you lose, you put yourself at a huge risk for not making the college football playoff. But it is the last year of having a 4-team playoff, so maybe when it expands to 12, it'll give teams more room to lose these games. I respect Alabama for playing a good schedule, unlike other top teams. Notre Dame at number 9 with Sam Hartman going on the road and getting the dub against NC State. Well-deserved, yes. Do I think Notre Dame is going to finish in the top 10? Do I think they're going to be a college football playoff team? No. They play that tough game against Ohio State in a couple weeks. Although Ohio State has not showed us that much, I still think Ohio State gets the job done on the road at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame ends up not being a college football playoff contender. Sorry to all you Notre Dame fans. I know there's a lot of bandwagons out there. You probably have no ties to the school or anything, but I'm going to let my hate be shown. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Notre Dame at number 9. Washington at 8, well-deserving. I love this. Haven't been tested yet, but we just know how good their offense is. I love when they run the 5 wide out. You have Penix at the helm, just slanging it everywhere, all over the field. They're athletic. They have one of the best wide receiving cores in the country. And we'll truly see this weekend when they play Michigan State how good they are. At 7, Penn State, not really much movement. They beat Delaware, whoop-de-doo. They had a good win against West Virginia in their first game. A lot of people were kind of disregarding that, but hey, I mean, that's a Power 5 opponent. That's Big 12. I respect it. They have a very easy schedule, and I will expect them to stay in the top 10 for a while. 6, Ohio State. I'm hearing it all over. Kyle McCord is not good. He's not the guy. He just needs a little more time. He hasn't played the best football, and just generally Ohio State hasn't looked like the Buckeyes that we've seen the last couple of years where they've been extremely dominant. However, I still think, I mentioned before, I think they're going to get it figured out. They're going to beat Notre Dame, and they're going to end up competing for the Big Ten championship as well. At 5, we have USC. I'm laughing a little bit because they were up 49-3 against Stanford this weekend. That's a conference matchup. A conference matchup where you score 50 points at halftime against a team, that's unheard of. That's type of numbers that you see an FBS going against an FCS. It's just unbelievable what USC did this weekend. Extremely talented. I loved what I saw from the defense because in the first couple weeks when they played San Jose State, they gave up 28 points and people were like, oh, here we go. Another year of Lincoln Riley defense, going to hold them back. They did well. I'm excited. I'm excited for 2 weeks when they play Colorado. That's going to be a good one. Now we get to the top 4. I'm just going to read the top 4 straight from 1, 2, 3, and 4 because I have some thoughts about this. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Michigan. Number 3, Florida State. And number 4, Texas. Now, out of those 4 teams, what 2 teams have the best wins there? Florida State over LSU and Texas over Alabama. And what have Georgia and Michigan done this year besides just what they've done last year and the eye test and the recruiting and the talent they have? They've done nothing. I think the top 4 should be ranked on what you've done this year. And with that being said, Florida State and Texas should take the top 2 spots, and I think Georgia and Michigan should be shuffled down to 3 and 4. You can hate me all you want, but brand is huge in college football, especially for these AP voters, and they're going to want to put teams who are typically good or they won last season in there, just like they put TCU ranked in the top 25, which should not have been there in week 1. Georgia hasn't done anything. They've faced absolute cupcakes. Same with Michigan, and I don't like when teams do that. I really don't. I know economically it works for college football because those smaller schools, whether it's an FCS or a group of 5 FBS team, when they travel and play those big top 5 ranked teams, they get money, and it's good for the cash flow of college football. However, no one wants to see that. No one's tuning into these games. They're tuning into the big Texas-Alabama game, and they're tuning into the Monday night or Sunday night Florida State versus LSU game. That's just my thoughts on the top 4. You can tell me what you think in the comments. And that's my thoughts on the whole AP Top 25. I'm excited to make more videos for you guys and let my opinions kind of roll. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been Saturday Shenanigans, and I will see you later this week.